For this next demonstration, I'd like to demonstrate the extrude and bevel function in Illustrator. And I'll start with some type. Now I've got, let's see, let me switch to a fill here of some orange type. And I'll just click here and we'll type, I don't know, graphics. Okay, and I'll make that a little bigger. And I lost my orange, so I'm going to put it back. Okay, and then once you've got some type, however you want it, go to the effects panel, 3D, and use this time the extrude and bevel. Click on the preview, and you can see it immediately turns into a pretty satisfying 3D image. Now you can still turn it. You can even flip it. You can flip it upside down, flip it back, turn it facing the other way. All these things that you may want to try with this. Okay, the object can be made to have a deeper extrude. You can enter those figures too if you like. I find that that slider is awfully sensitive. Okay, you can change the front surface of it if we take a close look here. Let me just zoom in a little bit here, and I'll try a different surface on the front. You can see sometimes it doesn't quite work the way we hope it will. Let me try maybe making that a little less, see if it'll kind of go back together. But you can see that there's some kind of nice things you can do with that. There is a bevel out and a bevel in. And so just depending on kind of the effect that you want, a little bit goes a long way here, on the type anyway, with that. Okay, there's a whole bunch of different ones of these. You can try fancier, like that. Again, you have to be careful because sometimes it kind of glitches out and doesn't work too well. Okay, lighting is just like we've done before. Move the lighting around. You can add additional like sources of lighting, so it's lit from both sides. You can make it so that it's partly lit from behind, which is kind of neat. Change your settings over here. I'm really fond of the ambient. It makes nice deep shadows, but all of them do some nice things, especially on curved surfaces. It's pretty subtle, you see there. Shading we talked about with that. Always, well, I shouldn't say always, but generally you want to pick a dark color for that so that it still looks like a shadow, right? I tell my students that you can't have a shadow made of yellow, right? It just doesn't work. Or maybe it does. Sometimes they prove me wrong. Okay. But I prefer the dark shadows, and truth is, you can almost never go wrong with black. It looks pretty good. Okay, let's see. We looked at all this. We looked at the other shadings. There are some other options here that we'll try to go over. And but for now, I'm just going to click OK. Let me zoom back out since I'm kind of zoomed in on that. You can still make changes here if you'd rather have red type or yellow or brown or green. I mean, you can still make your color changes. You can pick from the color picker, the color guide, if you'd rather, and get some nice subtle colors. Those are pretty. Light colors with the dark shadows seems to work best in my opinion. You can still use the functions of the selection tool and still stretch and rotate. You just have to keep in mind that what is rotating is the outline view. So when I do that, then go back to preview, that's the effect that I get. It can be a little, it can seem a little odd because some of the changes that you're making But the reason it may seem odd is because you're actually changing one object and it's affecting through the effects panel something else. Okay, so that's kind of neat. You can also use, and let me just check my time here, don't want to run over. You can also do shapes. I've got some shapes here. For some reason I really prefer working with stroke objects here. We go to a little stronger color maybe for us. There's a green. Okay, I'll go to my effects, 3D, extrude and bevel, and again turn on my preview, and you can kind of see what's happening here with this circle or this ellipse. You can extrude it deeper. You can change the lighting, all the stuff that we talked about before. Okay. If you change the width of the stroke, it'll make the object look fatter. You can go back into it using your appearance panel. Click on 3D extrude. You do have to turn the preview on each time, which is a little annoying. You can add bevels to the front. Some things that are pretty dramatic. Some things that are a lot more subtle. Add additional sources of light to show more of the angles and stuff. Okay, same stuff there. Change the color, easy as that. Okay. And you could perhaps make containers and things out of this. We are featuring packaging, but a lot of this stuff is just sort of general Illustrator, but you can see how it could turn into packaging, right? Rotate. So you can still do all that stuff. If you want to really change the orientation though of the 3D, you got to go back into the appearance panel, and for instance I can make that face in the other direction. Pretty nice. Okay, again checking my time. Okay, I'll just move this over here. Add background colors and other things that you know how to do with your regular Illustrator. Now that you're back in 2D, it's just as easy as that. Okay, I love working with straight lines in this function, and I'll just for variety I'll go to a different color here, and if I and curved anchor and curves too. I mean, if I wanted to put a curve on here, do something like that, and select the object, and if you want to apply the same extrude, just click at the top and it'll instantly update. You can do all the stuff that we looked at before, that we looked at here with pen tool, which will add anchor points to the path, direct selection tool, which will make new shapes, pen tool, which we can also change directions, or alter the anchor points. You can delete anchor points, all the stuff that we normally do. I'm just working a path just like you normally do with Illustrator. If you want to add on to a shape, click on the edge click on the last anchor point of an open path, and you can continue to make shapes and plot new shapes. And create whatever you want to try to do. Okay, again, add it on. I can still go back into bevel, change my lighting, do all the stuff that we do, change the shadows, just everything that we normally do. Okay, come back in here and correct the shapes, make them look a little bit more like you intended. I tell my students never to, or not to be too hasty about deleting and starting over. They want to do that so, oftentimes they want to do that too quickly. I think I went through that phase myself. Instead, just try to fix what you've done. And it's so much more, you get so much more accomplished if you do it that way. Okay, I don't know why I'm trying to make a heart, but there you go. Okay, we've got a few more minutes left to go here. I did want to mention this. If you use a series of lines, or just a series of objects, you could also do it with basic shapes. They act differently if they're left ungrouped. They act as separate objects. If instead you group them and then apply the extrude, now they act together. See how they're intersecting with each other. Same way over here. These look like separate shapes, which they are. I can still do all the stuff that I want to do to it as far as changing the lighting. All that stuff still applies. But if I would rather have them act as a single object, I'm just going to back up here and group them, and then apply that extrude. Now you can see that they're intersecting with each other. This is really kind of fascinating how this works. Don't want to go over my time. Let me see if I can find an anchor point here. As I move that away, you can see that it's part of the group. If I move the whole line segment, it's now floating above, but if I touch these other guys, it wants to intersect with them. Isn't that nice? Okay, I'm going to have to stop pretty soon here because I don't want to have to record this all over again. If I go past 15 minutes, I'm kind of limited that way. See how that works? As a grouped object, they just intersect with each other. Now, I've discovered that you can't really ungroup them once they're in 3D. You really have to group them beforehand, or keep them ungrouped depending on what you're going after here. Okay, but a lot of fun stuff with that shapes. Okay, I did a. Let me see if I can pause this just for a second. A few years ago, I did this branding iron design for our former president of the university, Tom Bryant. And the challenge was to get a T, a B, a PSU, and I used this extrude that I'm showing you right here. This is really just some, this is nothing more than just some lines that I put together and then did a straight extrude. So it's really kind of a cool thing, and it does have some real practical aspects to it. You can definitely apply it. They cut this thing out of metal and gave it to him as a going away present. Anyway, that's some of the extrude functions, and I'm going to wrap up this video before I hit my 15 minutes.